It's Ray Wheatley from Fight News. I'm here with Sammy Soliman, number 9 IBF middleweight. And Sammy Soliman's getting ready to fight Benjamin Simon in Berlin on April the 1st for the number 2 position in the middleweight division. But Sammy, I'd like to talk about your career, mate. Could you tell me a little bit about your 2 fights with Sakio Biker?
Well, first fight with Sakio Biker was at middleweight, which was convenient for me because I'm a natural middleweight, and so he had to come down on my weight for that fight, and he's a natural super middleweight. So in his defence, he would have struggled at that weight and making it as the big guy he is. So it would have given me a harder fight, being that it was if it was a super middleweight. But yeah, it was a good fight. 12 round at the Powerhouse in Melbourne, my hometown, and as he's from Sydney, I'm from Melbourne, and it was a really important fight for me, being that it was for the IBF Pan Pacific title, putting me in the top 10 in the world prior to winning the fight, if I was to win the fight. So we trained so hard for it. Sakio's one of the best fighters in the world. He's fought everyone and anyone. He's fought, was him Butte?
Yeah, Lucian Butte, fought Joel Calzaghe's fought them all, Sammy.
Calzaghe's fought the best.
Fought them all, mate, and as you say, mate, he's a much bigger guy than you, and mate, you fought a great fight that day. It was a very competitive fight.
Yeah. And
you came down with the decision that particular occasion. Now, you fought him several years later in the Contender Series.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about that bout.
Yeah, again, the weight division was the issue in the fight. I had to fight at his weight division this time, and only be fair that if we came down to my weight, I went up to his weight, and he got the decision to his weight. I got the decision on my weight. So, is there a catch weight that we could fight at one day? I suppose it's the only fair way to go about it. It's like putting a weight on 2 horses. Put Farlap and Magaivi Deva. You got weight on Magaivi Deva, Farlap will always win. Put weight on Farlap, Magaivi Deva will always win. So
it's a good way to work it out there, Sammy. Sammy, you've also, mate, you spent time in England where you won the Commonwealth title for defeating Neville Brown in the U2000. You stopped him in 9 rounds. Tell me about that fight.
That was a huge fight. Now the Commonwealth title is it's pretty big in Australia. Probably back then it was fairly big in Australia, but way more renowned and huge in Europe.
10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago we're talking now, and that was a tough era because they had so many great fighters in middleweight in the Commonwealth region, and Neville Brown had fought everyone again. At the time he had 19 knockouts in his 24 wins, 2 losses and 2 draws, and it was probably my 23rd or 24th fight.
Yeah. And
it was a war. It was probably the most exciting fight I've ever fought in from the crowd's point of view, because we just went punch for punch. I normally hit and not get hit, and I got drawn into a war with him in his hometown, and the crowd built it all up. And I came through with a KO in the 9th, but not before copping a lot of punches on the way through, and it was very rare that I going through fights like that where I've gone through absolute wars, but the reward was worth every punch taken and every punch given. And
not long after that, you had your first of 3 bouts with Anthony Mundine. You came back from England, back to Australia, and had your first of 3 fights with Mundine. Tell me about that first fight, which Mundine won on a split decision. Very close fight.
Very close fight, you know. I mean, flying in from England 7 days prior to the fight, and then fighting 3 days prior, making the wrong weight division, fighting the super middleweight his weight and everything. So it was all the cards were for him, and we still came through with the goods. And according to 6,000 people chanting Sammy after the fight, we were celebrating the fight. But the 2 of the 3 judges decided that they'd look after the hometown fighter, and he got the decision. So then we fought him again several years down the track, and again it was at his weight and in his hometown in Sydney again, and cards were all faced to him, and I just knew from the first fight that I didn't want to take any more risks. I'm going to go in there brawling, go in there 100 miles an hour, just head forward, chin down, and just go at it. And I've never fought like that before. I tried something that I tried fighting a style that I don't know how to fight. I'm no Jake LaMotta. I'm a Sugar Ray style fighter, and not putting myself in those shoes. He's a legend to me. But I'm just saying.
A lot of people compare you to Prince Nassim Hamed.
Well, the Nas, yeah, with the hit, not get hit style, and I fought that different style, trained that different style so that I could stop him, and ended up walking into a punch, doing it that way, and got caught and stopped for the first time, and only time in my career.
Yeah. You fought him a third time in Melbourne, and after 12 action rounds, the punch stats had you scoring more punches.
Again.
But the decision went to Mundine. You would have been disappointed.
Yes, again disappointed. But everyone says to me, how do you keep going fighting when these decisions keep going against you, and always the odds are always against you, and I just say to them the same thing I've been saying all my life is I love the sport, love what I do, and as long as the people that seen the fight were there, know who I fight, that's all that matters to me, and it's a good feeling and a good reward in itself. I mean, it happened to Daniel Gill as well. I mean, again, it's always going to be the hometown. It's just going to go to the person that's getting promoted and looked after in the fight game. But all us fighters still go on fighting for the same reason we love it so much. It is by far, in my eyes, the best sport in the world. So.
And Sammy, let's go back to 2005, and the fight that really put you on the world stage was when you clashed with Ronald Winky Wright. Very close fight. One of the judges had it 115, 113. Once again, you were ahead on the punch stats. Tell me about your fight with Winky Wright.
Yeah, that time I was double on the punch stats. I actually doubled his punch stats, but Winky Wright promotion, and same old story. But there was no shame in that, being that he's pound for pound the best in the world. He was top 3 at the time. Roy Jones was number 1 at his peak. Then there was Pernell Whitaker. I think was my favourite fighter ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then Trinidad. And then Winky Wright. And then Trinidad came forth. And I had posters on my wall of Winky Wright, and I was a big fan of Winky Wright as a kid and as growing up. And as a kid, I was only 3 years younger than him. So, but just would love to have been in his shoes one day and dreamt. And he lived the dream, and I'd love to have lived that dream one day and watched all his fights and watched him beat Shane Mosley twice and beat Trinidad and beat the best of the best more than once, and beat Fernando Vargas, and of course every boxer was a fan of Winky Wright. And then to get the phone call from my old manager Stuart Duncan saying that you're going to be fighting Winky Wright for the IBF WBC #1 spot in the world unification. I was IBF #1 in the world at the time, and I would never risk my #1 spot for anyone in the world, bar someone of the likes of Winky Wright, and I'd be stupid to, be silly to, but it was Winky Wright, so straight away the risk was worth taking, and I lost my IBF #1 spot to Winky Wright, but 12-round war in Connecticut. As I was speaking earlier with you about the fight, Winky had 6,000 people chanting in Connecticut in his hometown, Winky Winky, the whole way through. Let's get ready to rumble. The great Michael Buffer, to be able to announce that, and I was able to hear it live for once. I told my trainers in my corner, keep it quiet, I've got to hear this bit. No instructions, I've got to hear this, because I'm hearing it live, and let's get ready to rumble, 12 rounds of boxing, and then Michael Buffer had to ruin it by ending it with Winky Wright Promotions, and as soon as he said that, I thought, well, it's going to be more than just a close fight for me to win this one. I have to put him away. So I sort of put the downer on that for that moment. Then I thought, mind on the job. Don't worry that it's any promotion. We're just going to go out there and do what we have to do. And we did that and had a great fight. Turned the crowd around by about round 8 or 9. I had lunch with Sylvester Stallone about probably a year later, and he sat back with me and said, "Sammy, I lived through your eyes in that fight. My movie was similar to that fight, but the difference was you done the real thing."
Sammy, you've had great preparation, mate, for this fight with Benjamin Simon. You've been a globetrotter. You've fought all around the world. You've fought the best fighters in the world.